Hey, growers out there, Jordan River with more Growcast today. A little bit of a different episode. This is a really good one. I'm speaking with Margo from Illinois NORML and Margojuana and more. Today, she's talking about getting into the cannabis industry. I know that's a hot topic that comes up a lot in the Growcast audience, getting into the industry professionally and then getting out when she saw some of the unsavory sides. Very good episode. I think you'll find it to be particularly enlightening. Before we jump in, though, I have to shout out Delta Leaf Labs. Have you been sex testing your plants? You can save a lot of time by using Delta Leaf Labs, deltaleaflabs.com, and use promo code GROWCAST for free shipping on your sex tests. And stop wasting time and stop wasting fertilizer and soil and space on plants that you're going to chop down. Sex test, as soon as the first set of true leaves comes in, send in a little cotyledon. They will send back the test results. And then just do what you will right there. You don't got to up-pot them, waste that soil, waste that fertilizer, waste that space, waste that time. I use Delta Leaf Labs every single time. DeltaLeafLabs.com, code GROWCAST for free shipping on your test. Thank you, Delta Leaf Labs. Oh, they're also giving away a pair of tests. 10 tests to a code user, a random code user. So Elijah will announce that second winner shortly here. All right, everybody, let's jump into today's episode with Margo from Margojuana. Hello, podcast listeners. You are now listening to Growcast. I'm your host, Jordan River, and I want to thank you for tuning in today. Before we get started, please tell a friend, tell a grower about Growcast. Share the show. It's how we grow. Give us a good rating and review. Make sure you're subscribed for every episode. Today we have a little bit of a different episode. We love to stick to cannabis cultivation on this podcast, but we mix it up sometimes. And today we have on the line from Illinois NORML, so close to, in my home state, we have Margo Vaselli on the line. What's up, Margo?
Hi, Jordan. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you so much for taking the time to come on to Growcast and talk to us today.
Thank you so much for having me. Seriously.
I am so stoked to talk to you. We were just talking for like 10 minutes off air, and Margo's just a lovely, wonderful person. And this is just a subject, cannabis activism, the future of cannabis legislation, kind of, licking your finger and sticking it in the air to test the way the winds are blowing. This is the kind of content I want to do a little more often. So Margo is going to help us out with that today. First, Margo, though, could you share the story of your journey into the cannabis industry as a whole and eventually Illinois NORML?
Absolutely. So my path was pretty unique, the way that I carved it out. And it's probably not the typical path that people are going to be taking nowadays. It was back in 2017 when the legal market just had started up here in Illinois. And I was working on a state campaign with a state senator. And while I was on that campaign, I was actually just doing a little hobby on the side, making some gummy bears that were infused with alcohol at the time. But my heart wasn't set in that. And every time I was with a candidate on this campaign, I would always bring up cannabis and just the viewpoints that I had and just, any kind of resource that I could give to that candidate. I was always on top of that.
Wow.
When this legal market opened up, my candidate, my primary one, was like, hey, the market's open. And you got some talents with your edible making. Why don't you jump in? So I took that advice and just went after it right away. And within a month, I had been already inside of a big MSO, Cresco, working as a packager, which is the lowest of the totem pole, and moved my way up to trimming. And then once I got into trimming, they saw that my work ethic was really good and I was just working there to impress them. And they put me into the full-time position. And I asked if there's ever an opportunity to work in edibles, can I please join in? And they tested me out and I was there.
Jeez.
That was my journey into the industry.
Yeah, I think, it's funny. You make it sound easy. I'm sure it was a long process and lots of trial and error and lots of experience in there. But there's a lot of people listening to this show. I get written this question a lot. They're thinking, how can I get into the cannabis industry? This is a question I get all the time. And really, I think that what your story just kind of showed an amalgam of things. And I want to get into what it was like working there. But what your story showed is you focused on your craft before the market was even available, before there was a job offer or anything. You focused on your craft and you got good at a skill. And then on top of that, you were willing to take a position that did not utilize that skill initially. You had to work there as a packager, work your way up, as you said, show your worth, work to impress. And then eventually you got the privilege to show them that you had further skills, which then they then accepted you. Yeah. Is that a fair assessment? And what other advice do you have for people trying to get in?
Yeah. So even before any of that happened at Cresco, I had applied to maybe 3 different MSOs and I didn't get a response. And I was disappointed. And after the first or second month, one of my friends was like, hey, go on LinkedIn, find anyone that works there and just start messaging them kindly, asking them, hey, I can't follow up anywhere. How do I get my way in? Is there a way that I could talk to a manager? And no one responded to me. But within a week, I had a phone call saying, hey, we're going to interview you.
It's crazy.
So you kind of have to be clever to get in front of these people's faces and constantly kind of jump up in front of them too, because they're very busy. They're going to be, working on their inventory. That's their primary goal right there. And people applying is just secondary, unfortunately. But you got to make yourself the primary, thing that is a attention for them.
Yeah, exactly. You have to, I like how you said, get clever with it. And, and I want to get into specifically the culture of Cresco and all that. I'm gonna ask you all the questions, and please just answer only as much as you're comfortable with. But sure. But before that, I want to also emphasize, like I said, when you're getting in at that ground entry level, I encourage people to keep their mind open. I encourage people to look at ancillary sides of the business. Some people think that the only way you can be working in the cannabis industry is for a Cresco, but the fact is you're gonna have to enter that. Let's be honest, corporate culture. You're gonna have to work your ass off. And you're probably going to have to work your way up to the position you want. I've always been a fan of kind of the ancillary approach, creating a podcast, for instance, about the subject, creating a product that growers can use, creating something that's just a little bit on the sidelines, a grow light, a grow fan. I think those are the people who can really succeed sometimes, but that's also a risk. Whereas going the employment route it's attractive for a lot of different reasons. So I really want to cover all the bases with this interview. Sure. But yeah, that makes a lot of sense as far as just trying to get in contact with anyone you could, and then magically you get an interview email and then work your way up. That's absolutely crazy. When did your time at Cresco kind of culminate or peak? What was the height of your powers at Cresco?
I think it was when I became the edibles maker. These pearly gates just opened up and I thought, my future is paved. I was so excited that this was going to be the rest of my life. That I had found my place. You just felt like I had a purpose. That felt so good.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
that
huge.
Didn't last long.
I was going to say, what changed? What took you away? Tell me more.
So this is how it all leads into the NORML. So I was at Cresco, and at the time, I didn't feel like we were aligned anymore. Recreational still wasn't around yet, and NORML was lobbying for recreational down in Springfield. Mm-hmm. I went up to my boss and I said, hey, I want to go down to the lobby days and do some activism, do some lobbying. And I was cut short no. And it was just, my eyes started opening up to a different side of things that I think I was being blinded by before, by the honeymoon stages. And after that moment in time, just things started unraveling of this culture that I wasn't seeing before, but it was really there. And people were getting let go left and right just for just the obscene reasons, just really silly reasons. Luckily, I saw what was happening and decided that this was the time for me to leave.
Damn.
And I made that choice. It was a very difficult choice, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Because just like everyone here that's listening and wants to be working with the plant, that's such a beautiful part to be able to work with the plant. You get to smell it, those terpenes. It's like a therapy session too. And
100%.
It took me about a week or two to make this decision. I sat down and did the pros and cons, and I had to make that decision. And at that time too, there was a group of investors that approached me and asked me hey, we want a recipe formulation and we hear that you're really good. So they gave me that opportunity and I was able to jump out. Now that didn't last too long. It was just a formulations creation. And after that, I was like, well, what's going to happen next for Margo? I thought, my life was made as an edibles maker. But there's a lot of people out there that want to be edibles makers too. So it's competition and you have to be really creative with whatever aspect you want to go in with any industry, but especially now with the cannabis industry, you can't be like everyone else if you want to shine.
Yes.
So I was patient and I still worked with here and there a couple of companies, but I eventually started to see that there's education that's needed. And it's like there's no access to it. There is education already out there in conferences and expos and companies like the Green Flower. They cost a lot of money, and not everyone has the means to pay that. Plus, paying for their overly priced cannabis and everything in life.
The card, the renewal, the card renewal.
Yes, that's so true too. So. I sat down and thought, well, maybe I can do this. Maybe I can make this information accessible, available in a way that people can digest it and where it's, broken down to, hey, I'm 5 years old and I can understand it kind of way of language about it. So that's the goal now with Margojuana. And we are currently doing some content creation and we're going to be plugging that all together into some video series where we're going to make like a Bill Nye the Science Guy education video series about all parts of the plant.
That's incredible. Now, is this Margojuana.com? Is that
Margojuana.com. You got that.
Oh my God.
The video creation part is part morally with Instagram right now because that's where we have our videos. And as we build this up, we're going to be taking all that video content and plugging it all into the interviews that we're going to be doing too with physicians and engineers, all types of movers and shakers with the can of science.
Oh my God, this is wonderful. I know you sent me this link, but I didn't have time to I just focused on the NORML side and the Cresco side. This Margojuana, you guys got to check this out. This is really interesting. Make sure that when you launch the content, you ping us again so I can drive people. Well, what's the Instagram page? We'll drive people there now.
Yeah, it's Margojuana_. And right now we're focusing on terpenes so that we can break down that knowledge and see the connections that we can make with that and get people excited about knowing this too. So yeah, thank you so much for that. And it's going to take some time to develop all of this stuff. So once we're ready to launch the podcast, Phyto Endo Connection, would love to have you ping it to all your followers too.
Of course. We're going to have you back on. That's something I love to do.
Yes.
I am a podcaster first before I am a cannabis podcaster. And I love to help people get their shows launched. Queen of the Sun, Doc Calix is coming out with a show now. A lot of the people, these are former guests of the show that listeners recognize. Okay. I love helping them get their shows off the ground. So this is now on my radar, and I would love to help you out however you can. However I can with Margojuana. So really cool that you're entering the content creation space. Exactly what I was saying before. It's ancillary, but you're providing a value through a free platform, just like I'm doing. It's really like there's never been a better time to be a content creator. So that's absolutely massive. I love that. Are you going to cover the legislative side too, or is it going to be more focused on the plant?
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm working on doing all kind of political, pushes on there too. The political lobbyist kind of teases me about that now that, there's TikToks out there that we should dance, but it's not all about dancing.
Good.
And I want to add in also that if there's someone listening right now and they feel the spark that, hey, that's a really good idea, I want to do something like that, go ahead and run with it. Just because I'm creating something, this is my, unique way of sharing it, but you're going to have a different unique way of sharing it too. And I'm happy if you carry this on and you spread it amongst your networks in your unique way too. So please carry that on as well.
I love that. That's the approach to have, especially because there's so much room in this space. And I've always been in the spirit of collaboration. What we've always lacked on, though, is it's funny. You'd think this was hilarious, Margo. We've always lacked on the legislative side because, we talk about growing, and then I'll literally have people come in and be like, what's the exact wording on the Illinois law with growing? And I'll be like, yeah, five plants over 5 inches. But they go, is that exactly what it says? And then we end up like having this digging up the thing and finding the exact wording. It's just something that like you said, it needs to be broken down, be more digestible, be more accessible. And then hopefully we can be pushing these laws each and every year when they don't go far enough, like Illinois' laws, 5 plant limit, home grow, that sort of thing. You need to learn those laws, become familiar, and then hopefully expand them. Is that even a possibility at this point? I mean, it was such a pain to get recreation in Illinois. Is there any chance that the laws change or expand anytime soon?
Oh, that's such a good question. And I follow a lot of influencers too, like Tom Howard, who is the cannabis attorney. If you're not aware of him, he's got his own podcast too.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that guy. Yeah, we're going to hook up with that guy.
He's really good at, talking about what's going on in Illinois and other states. And what I'm gathering from everything that's happening is that we are kind of basically at a standstill.
Yeah.
And it just looks kind of like shady business. I don't know what's going on.
Of course.
Why aren't they talking to us? Why aren't they being transparent? While other states are already doing that, they're way ahead of us. Now we were supposed to create this precedent with the social equity licenses, and we really
dropped the ball.
That up. I want to say that was such a mess that unraveled, and it's really going to start showing, what kind of business goes on in Illinois. And we are seeing a lot of these legislators switch out now too, which is interesting, but necessary as well. Long time overdue sometimes, but this is just unfortunate what's happening in Illinois, and I wish I had more answers to give to you about that, but I'm constantly asking the same thing
and not getting a response.
Yeah, we just have to keep pushing for the responses, constantly being on them. They have to answer us eventually. So
that's crazy.
I think we're on a pause, on a halt, because of the lawsuits that are happening too.
I think it shows just the overall culture of this state and the rich history of Chicago's corruption, all the way back to Al Capone. And it really is a rich history of corruption. And it's rife in this state, from the medical pilot program all the way up to, slowly things are getting easier to get a card. But the way they just bilk people with the recreational tax, the way that after years and years now of a medical program, I'm still paying, $55 for an eighth? $60 out the door for an eighth. I mean, they haven't caught up near with the black market. I just don't know how they can go to sleep at night. I don't know how people are still buying it and that they're not still going to the black market. It seems like business is still good. And I feel like that's the only thing that'll really make them about face, is when business ain't good anymore. And I'm not sure that's going to happen.
I agree with that so much. And, this has been something. I just joined Illinois NORML last year, the beginning of last year. So right before the pandemic hit. And, after that, then we had over the summer, the protests that were happening. And I was just getting my understanding of what was going on in Illinois politics at the time. And basically what I'm hearing is that these prices won't change until someone does something about it. Yeah. And how are you going to hit these people more than their pocketbooks, So I wanted to have some kind of demonstration or protest with everything that was going on in relation to it. But, it was my first outcoming of my ideas, and I don't think that was the best way of having my first idea out there. But
I wish we would have been together. We could have done a grow your own protest. Our whole show is kind of a protest against that.
We can still do something together. I was just told by other leaders that, maybe it's not the best way of going about it just yet. Maybe it's not the right timing. So yes, let's chat.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's chat, because I serve no man other than my wonderful listeners and members. So I can step out there and say whatever I want. I can open people's eyes to the truth that they're getting ripped off. If you look at the grams, the cost per gram, if you just go buy a nice cheap LED light and a little tent, pack of seeds, and grow your own. Yeah, we can do something together. That's exactly right, Margo.
I'm excited for that too. We are going to get a lot of people educated how to grow, because that's a question that even I had raised when I started growing. I didn't know what resource to trust out there. So that is something that I would like to put together, maybe easily, either through video or through just written content, just so that they have a trusted source. Because I think that's where we're losing a lot of people, is that we don't have a really big trusted source. Even Leafly, unfortunately, can find some errors in their resources. So you just need to be on top of that.
We'll talk off air because that's a big subject, man. The way gardening, everybody gardens a little different, but yeah, that's a great conversation, and I would absolutely love to help. We'll be back with Margo in just a second. Before that, though, gotta tell you about microbelifehydro. I love microbelifehydro. They make the wonderful Photo Plus, a wonderful, powerful microbial bacteria additive. They also make Nourish, which is my favorite humic acid product, the Nourish L, seabed-derived humus. You can find everything at microbelifehydro.com. You can use code MLHGrowcast. I think it's a one-time code. Go ahead and try out some of their products. If you don't have a hydro store near you, again, hit up the website. And if you do have a hydro store near you, make sure to pick up some Microbe Hydro products. Their all-in-one is something that we don't talk about as much as we should, as well as their aminos. They have a great amino spray. Check out Microbe Life. Take your grow to the next level. Usable with virtually any grow setup. You don't have to be organic to add this to your setup. Very, very good stuff, Microbe Life Hydro. And check out the episode that we did with Brett from Microbe Life. All right, everybody. It's code MLHGrowcast at Microbe Life Hydro. Now let's get back to Margo. Home grow is the most important, in my opinion. I've said this before on the show, but I want to reiterate. It's been a while. You can talk about tax percentages. You can talk about dispensary locations and if they can face a public street and zoning and all this stuff. Really, what concerns me the most with these laws is whether or not you're allowed to grow at home. It's almost like a rug that you can pull out from under any bad bill, from under any bad market. If you're allowed to grow a plant within your own house and then consume that plant, not taking it outside of your house, not buying over an ounce, anything like that. If you're just allowed to grow it and consume it, I feel that it's a kind of get out of jail free card. I feel like it's an ability, like I said, to pull out the rug from these horribly uncompassionate bills. And that's why I think it's the most important thing. And if I was on Team NORML, that's what I would be saying to the board members and legislators is give people a chance to grow. And I feel they're going to come after that eventually. I feel it's just a matter of time before somebody has an allergic reaction to some terpene that they grew that they didn't know about. And then these people start going after home grow because they know it is all about the dollar. And if you can cut out home grow, those people are going to have to go to the dispensary. So what do you think about protecting home grow? What do legislators think about protecting home grow? And do you agree with my paranoid mentality, which is Cresco would love to see me not be able to grow at home?
Oh, man, there's just so much to unpack with this and on. So I'm going to try my best to stay on point here. So personally, I believe in home grows. That was one of the biggest reasons why I think even I was accepted into the NORML team as the executive director. That was one of my first initiatives in my agenda that I would like to go after. But after coming into NORML, things have changed because I got a different understanding of what was going on. But it's still on my agenda, and we are still going to be approaching that. So welcome you to come with us on NORML to help push that forward, because people need it. They really, really need it. You're right.
I'd love to.
Especially the people who can't afford the high prices of the cannabis products that we have right now, because that's even hard for me to afford. I get that.
It's way too pricey. Like I said, it just doesn't make sense for the production. And listen, there's two ways. Excuse me, but my voice is shaking because I just hit a vape. I'm not beginning to cry, even though I am compassionate about this subject. It could bring a tear to my eye. The thing that really bothers me is you can bilk the recreational guys. I don't like how they charge sick people. When there's sick people who really have an epileptic condition or Crohn's disease or some cancer, and they need to spend $400 by the end of their medical card process. I know it's gotten cheaper, but I literally spent $400 or $500 the first time I got it a couple years back to go through the whole process, and then just to walk in and be offered a limited selection of not so great grown overpriced weed. I think that separates evil from, like I said, you can tax the recreational people, let the free market go, whatever. When you're bilking sick people, that's where you straddle the line of evil to me. And that's why I feel you at least need to throw in a home grow law. Otherwise, that's just straight up evil, in my opinion. And I don't throw that word around lightly.
No, you're absolutely right. The recreational side can get taxed, but the medical side shouldn't. I'm a medical patient as well. And when I go to the dispensary, I ask for a COA to know what's in my stuff. The COA, the certificate of analysis,
right,
which is that lab report that's supposed to show you what cannabinoids are in there, what percentages of them are in there. Same with terpenes. And it's supposed to even show you the contaminants, like the heavy metals and
right.
all the gross stuff that we want to avoid. But it's not as easy to get some COAs in the Midwest as it is in the West Coast. And I'm sure you know that as
I was
well,
just
too.
going to say, are they even required to do that? I see some companies do it here in the Midwest, but people out West did it just as a kind of, again, the free. I don't want to seem like I'm pro taxing the recreational market. What I'm saying is let the free market work. People out West did those COAs because it was a selling point. People liked to know. I don't think it was required, but everyone started doing it because one dispensary started doing it. Every dispensary started doing it. Here, it's kind of like a monopoly, even though it's not a monopoly. You know what I mean? And I feel like they don't provide that COA more often than not. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not looking at the jar closely enough, but I feel like less than half the time.
You're right. You're right. I mean, that's the way that we know if it's true and as clean as possible. And I'm not sure about the West Coast, if they were just doing it freely. I think they actually had laws that
they might
upheld them. And we do have a law that says that we are supposed to have these lab testings, but they're getting away a loophole around it because of the label that's on the product. They're saying that that's sufficient enough.
What?
Yeah.
That's crazy. So when they passed the law, we all know what it's supposed to look like. And then they get around with this loophole going, oh, it says the THC percentage. That's what they're saying?
Mm-hmm. But we don't know what the terpenes are. You're right, because I just spoke to a bud tender and she said that she was having a hard time helping a patient that came in and said that she's deathly allergic to citric, anything citrus. So, that's a pretty prominent terpene, limonene, in a lot of products.
I was going to say, is that limonene? Yeah, that's messed up. Yeah, that's in a ton. It's a very prevalent terpene. They need to know this sort of thing.
She had a hard time finding that. And then another patient came in with what you were saying again, that couldn't afford the products and they had cancer. And unfortunately, they didn't make it.
That's insane.
And that just hit me so hard in the heart when I heard that's I can't. Why is this medicine here? Why does it exist? To help these people. And we're not doing that.
Yeah.
So homegrow testing is, yes, so important. And it's also important to get it tested so that we know what is inside of our plant. Even the genetics. Sometimes we're told that this seed is something and it could be something else.
That's true.
And you got to make sure if you're trying to treat something specific, you need to know all of the parts of the plant that you're harnessing and how you're going to be applying that to your body. And you have to have consistency. So I test my products with one of the labs that I trust in the city of Illinois and in Chicago. State of Illinois, city of Chicago.
It slipped by me. Who's that?
Orgo Labs.
Who?
Orgo Labs.
Orgo?
Yes.
Orgo.
Origo. Orgo Labs.
Okay. All right. Origo Labs. I'll check them out. Interesting.
Yeah. I think it's like Latin for purity or cleanliness. So it's really, they're spearheading this whole profile, lab testing, and, educating too. They're helping Illinois NORML with doing some COA education with the people, first with farmers and then with consumers. And we're going to be doing that every other month where people are free to come in and ask any kind of question. No question is too out there, I swear. So welcome everyone to join in on that too.
That's cool. Yeah, I love that. I love that education side. I want to jump back around on something you said, though, because it's exactly what I was talking about earlier. And I do fear that this is the future. I could see this happening, because the thing about home grow is you're right. If you're buying a pack of seeds, you don't know what's in it. There might be some pheno in there with a terpene that someone's going to be allergic to. In fact, it's not even might. This is going to happen eventually. This will happen. Someone will have an allergic reaction. Someone might die from some sort of home grow situation. And it's messed up because as a pragmatist, I know how helpful home grow is. And I know that no matter what happens, the principle of keeping these laws in place outweighs that detriment. I know that's like a weird, discompassionate, pragmatic thing to say about somebody who's going to have a horrible reaction and might die, but I mean it. We need to keep these laws in place. And the people who want them gone would use a story like that as a poster child to get to eliminate home grow once and for all. They've done this with gardening in other countries. Like, for instance, you can't just purchase any breed of tomato. I think it's in France. They have like a national seed bank, and for health purposes, they've put a restriction on the gene pool. And to me, as a home grower who again knows my terpenes and specifically selects for what I'm looking for, as many people do nowadays, that's what I'm scared of the most, is someone coming in and saying, hey, you can't grow this plant, it's unsafe, which it is to some people, but that doesn't justify the elimination of the principle to me. Yeah. So that would be my argument. And maybe some people would push back against that, but that is truly what I believe.
I'm really happy that you brought that up too, because I wanted to add in the fact that I was part of a nonprofit called Sustain DuPage before I came to Illinois NORML. And they do just that. We are protecting our ability to grow our own foods in our backyards in the county of DuPage,
Jeez.
Which is just crazy to think about, that's even something that we have to fight for, because Exactly. That was how we lived off of our own lands.
Oh my God.
From the time that we were placed on this earth. So with that organization, we had to fight for even being able to have these hoop houses in our backyards, because some people say that they're unsightly. So there's going to be people trying to fight this because, yeah, there is an opportunity to make money from selling it to us. But just like our grocery store food, we're now trying to get organic that costs more money and is not only achievable to get for a certain amount of people.
Yep. 100%.
Because they're putting chemicals and fertilizers and pesticides in our foods that could cause something down the line.
Oh, yeah.
Same thing goes with cannabis. We have to fight for our rights and the protection of this plant for our consumers that aren't able to grow. Some people can't even be able to grow because they have medical handicaps, or even the cost to grow is sometimes high, or they don't have the space to grow it, or they can't even be allowed in their homes to grow.
Right.
So yeah, that's something that's really deep in my heart, that I am fighting for this plant and for its people too.
That's right. I absolutely love that, and I identify with that. That scares me, though, that there are so many people that are pushing back against vegetable gardening. One of the silver linings of pandemic, I think there were very few personally, but one of the silver linings of pandemic is how much people started gardening. People started gardening at home. When there was a run on stores, they started growing their own vegetables. Cannabis smokers started growing at home. I really did feel that, but interesting.
Yeah, I'm in there. I started at the beginning of the pandemic too. But with home grow, any kind of grow, whether it's vegetables or cannabis, there's a therapeutic aspect to it. Like getting your hands into the dirt, smelling the dirt even. And then we have the awesome phenotypes that come out of this plant and all the other vegetables or flowers that we grow too.
Mm-hmm.
That just gives you an ease over your mind. I was just telling Jake, my fiance, a couple months ago, when I walk outside amongst the pine trees, they don't smell as strong as they once did. And my heritage is Czechoslovakian. You get off that plane and you can smell the trees already.
Wow.
And here it's just like it's gotten dampered out. Is it, they changed the genetics in our trees even?
It's the soil quality is what I'd imagine. Because
soil quality.
Yeah, that would be my first guess. Maybe in Czechoslovakia, they have that native soil that hasn't been ruined by pesticide runoff and all that stuff.
Yeah.
That's incredible what you just shared. We're big fans of pine trees on this show. We've talked about pining's theoretical ability to release from pine trees and seed clouds to create shade from the sun. Uh-huh. For you to theorize and personally attest that the trees in Czechoslovakia the pine trees smell stronger there than here in America, that just really flipped my switch.
You can smell the seasons change when you're out in Slovakia or Czech. Now they're two different countries, but I'm part of both. But yeah, you can smell the seasons change, like any kind of change in weather, you smell it. And here you get like maybe just a little bit of it, but there it's overpowering. And it's an overwhelming feeling. I can't even describe how amazing it is to get to smell all that. And I really hope that everyone that listens here gets to go and get a chance to get out of this country to anywhere in the world and get to experience some of these unique smells that give you a feeling. It's incredible. Seriously.
When was the last time you were in the Czech Republic?
It was about 2016. I
Oh
haven't been
my
able to
God.
go back. I was supposed to go last year, so.
So they have all sorts of crazy laws there. Did you take a page out of their book? Oh my God, you're allowed to do
Oh,
all sorts of drugs. Did you try any cannabis when you were there?
oh my goodness. This is an amazing story and not that great. But I was about 18 years old out there. And, at 18, you can go to a nightclub and drink at a very young age, probably at 10. But I was there with some friends and we happened to get this feeling like we need to go home now. And as we were leaving, there was 30 or 50 police officers with huge plexiglass running down into the club. And we're like, oh, what's that? We go outside and look through the window. Everyone's on the ground. And we're like, whoa. And I asked, like, what's going on? Well, they're looking for something. The next day, we find out that they were looking for cannabis. And it wasn't even that great of amount. It was just maybe an eighth, maybe 2/8 of an amount. And I asked more and probed for more information about what was going on. And they said that if you were to move while you were in that basement and they had you on the floor, they'll break your jaw if you move even just an inch, just
Czech
to try to get
riot
some
police.
like water or anything. Yeah, it was crazy.
I thought it was
So that was
legal.
my experience there.
What the heck?
It's illegal. It's illegal in Slovakia. Czech
Oh,
is
in
now
Slovakia. Okay, sorry.
open to CBD. They have a lot of hemp. My sister-in-law just sent me some pictures of these vending machines that have CBD products in there. And it's really unique how they sell their CBD out there. I saw that there's like 10% CBD, 30% CBD. So I'm still trying to figure out what they're selling in that CBD. But yeah, they're really ahead with that. Pretty amazing.
I heard the hemp flower was taking off there. They have some really powerful CBD flower. I am a big fan of world travel, so we're going to have to connect.
Yeah.
Crazy though. I love those Czech Republic stories, Margo.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, everywhere you go, you meet someone that is a consumer. Every time I drop down in a new country, like Costa Rica, within 10 minutes, I had some taxi driver driving me to my location. I was like, where's the Mota, Margojuana? And they lead me to some really crazy places sometimes. But, it's like a culture. It's a lifestyle. And we all have this connection amongst each other that, hey, we're here to help each other out. And when you think of cannabis people, what do you think of? A lot of people think of hippie people and stoners. That's not true anymore at all.
Right.
Cannabis is a part of everyone like you and me, and it's involved with all types of cultures. And the people, the users, are not the people that you would think that, back in the past, who would you assume that would be using cannabis?
Right.
It's people like lawyers, athletes, even stay-at-home moms.
Totally.
And this cannabis culture is one of the most diverse cultures in existence right now. It's amazing.
You're absolutely right. And it is worldwide. That's the weird thing. Like even in the places where they try their hardest and it's like death sentences, you'll still find tiny little pockets of the cannabis culture there. It's really, really wild.
Yeah.
And you're right, to fully appreciate that, traveling is a big part of that.
Yeah.
This was a wonderful interview. We should probably wrap it up. I know that at the top of the hour here, we got to let you go. Before that, though, we got to ask the big question. And I know you're Illinois NORML, and I know you're not a political landscape expert, but just give me your gut feeling at the very least. Federal legalization. Do you think that's coming in the next 4 years?
At the beginning of the year, I was more optimistic. Now, as things are starting to settle in, and we're seeing, Biden even take out some of the people that were past users, it makes me think that he may not push for it. It may not be his priority.
I think he's even said that, leave it to the states. I wonder what happens when 45 states go legal, though,
Yeah, it's going to be the states against the federalism. So maybe it'll be something that happens at the end of his term to try to get re-put in.
Right.
But I was really optimistic, and I was even hearing some talk about things evolving with the MORE Act, but it seems like it's going to be on a standstill. If it does push forward, I'd be so happy. I think this is really necessary. This is how we're going to be able to fix our economy after COVID happened and we're all kind of flustering around trying to figure out how to make some money. There's so much opportunity within the cannabis industry, and not just with growing or selling the plant. Podcasts, education. There's also a lot of ancillary businesses. Like one thing that I will give an example, and I hope this inspires others to do something along the lines, where I put terpenes inside of a terpene mist, and it's strain specific. So this is very good for your mask, the face mask that we are required to wear right now. And it has witch hazel in it too, so that if you get mask acne or skin irritation from the mask, you can prevent it with this mist. But not only is that good for that, it's good for refreshing your bed linens, spraying it in your shower to get like an aromatherapy out of it. Even, if you're complementing your cannabis use or your CBD use, you can add this to your air around you for a moment, and it just uplifts your mood and it makes you more confident. And that's what I love about it. But yeah, there's so much opportunity to be made in this industry. We're only just starting. It's not too late to get yourself educated first and foremost, and then seeing where you could position yourself.
Is that the type of content we can expect from Margojuana? I saw that you do a lot of stuff like that. I'm excited to see your kind of wellness, non-cannabis tips.
Yeah, so that is exactly what I want to highlight. I'm partnering up with influencers, all sorts of influencers. Doesn't matter if you've already been established or not. I'm looking for people that are really excited about figuring out ways that we can do something with wellness aspects, because I think that's our foundation within our healthcare. If we don't have our wellness taken care of, then we start getting anxieties. And if anxiety is not taken care of, then you get inflammation. Inflammation leads into serious conditions. So as long as we can start with the foundation, we're safe about it, and creating some really, really interesting topics around that with whatever it may be. My mind is going to like candles or just like art therapy and all sorts of ways that we can incorporate this plant. I want to highlight those people within this podcast video distribution and create it just like Bill Nye. If you remember Bill Nye,
yeah, of course,
he was the main character that would explain everything. But if I was just studying his videos, and he explains things over and over and over and over again in different ways throughout the episode. And then he brings people on to create these segments where it's like an experiment. They do that volcano eruption, right? And then they talk about what's going on. So that's the kind of background information that I want to highlight on these video series podcasts that we're going to be distributing.
I love that. That's really, really cool. Super excited, Margo. Where can throw out all the links? Margojuana.com.
Yes.
What other Instagrams, or where can people find more of you and your work?
Yeah, so Margojuana.com is the main, and then Instagram is where all the videos are being held right now. There's some on TikTok too, and it's all the same handle, Margojuana_. And we're going to be evolving. We have LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn as well. But yeah, if you find yourself that you want to be a part of this production, please reach out to me. I would love to feature you there. And I have a lot of different other opportunities too to kind of boost everyone up as well. So I believe that the culture that within this industry is kind of what they say is cutthroat. Everyone holds on to their network and holds on to them tightly, doesn't want to give them up. And I think that's a big, big problem that we're going to be facing, because then the industry isn't going to move as fast as it could be potentially.
Yes.
So I open up my networks for everyone, and I'm excited to promote you, because I believe in karma. What I do for you will eventually come back to me. So I would love to have anyone that is interested be featured on here. So reach out, please.
Oh my gosh. Be prepared for the wave you will receive, Margo. Thank you so much today. Listen, we got to talk. We have more discussion to do. Thank you so much for being a guest on Growcast. This was a lovely little episode.
Thank you, Jordan. It was pleasantly, surprisingly amazing to be here. And I can't wait to talk to you offline again and to be back here again too.
Perfect. All right, everybody, go and give Margojuana a follow. Go and give @Growcast a follow on Instagram. Stay tuned. This is Margo Vaselian, Jordan River signing off, saying be safe out there, everybody, and grow smarter. That's our show. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in today. I appreciate you all. I hope you enjoyed today's little bit of a different type of episode. Before we wrap it up, got to give love to Rain Science Grow Bags, my favorite containers in growing. RainscienceGrowbags.com, code GROWCAST for 10% off. Reduces overwatering, gets that air pruning that you need. These even come with optional grommets for low stress training. So they have little rings that you can tie your plant down to. They're really the best containers in the game. They'll last a lifetime, machine washable, different sizes, different depths. That's one thing I like about these grow bags. They got some tall ones. RainscienceGrowbags.com and code GROWCAST for 10% off. Enjoy, everybody. You'll thank me later for upgrading your container. All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Like I said, I appreciate each and every one of you so much. Stay tuned for more GROWCAST. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.